Right, so I'm a little bit behind on this story, but I want to make a video about it anyway because it's an important issue. And what I'm referring to is obviously the Mark Ruffalo complaining about capitalism thing that I think he tweeted out about 4 or 5 days ago. I think it was actually right around Black Friday. I don't know if it was right on Black Friday, but I think it was pretty close to that. But anyways, getting into he had a bunch of tweets, but there was a central one. It was one of these two up here. I believe it's this one. Let's see. Yeah, I assume it's this one. But like I said, there's a bunch of them, so don't quote me on it. But anyways, it's time for an economic revolution. Capitalism today is failing us, killing us, and robbing from our children's future. And there's a bunch of aspects about this. The first one is the obvious hypocritical nature of it, in that he has a net worth of $30 million, and again, if capitalism is this big issue, then like, and you're so concerned about helping the poor and all this kind of stuff and helping the downtrodden, well then donate some of your money away. I mean, there's no one stopping you from paying more in taxes than you legally have to. Like, why not, donate all but $1 million of that, invest that $1 million and live off the interest? Like, that's a pretty good life. But he's not going to do that. And that's the biggest problem with all these people on the left. I mean, specifically in this situation, leftist celebrities, that it's the textbook definition, like literal textbook definition, no overgeneralization at all, of rules for thee but not for me. Like I say, you have all the, I mean, you got the NBA idiots complaining about or not capitalism, but China, and defending them, even though they're communists. They'll take a big stand for Colin Kaepernick and his largely non-issues that he's taking a quote unquote stand for. They'll defend him to the death, but they won't go after communist China, who oppresses literally their entire population. Not only that, they have, I don't know the exact number, but roughly 1 million Uyghur Muslims who are literally being detained, many of them having their organs harvested, nasty, nasty stuff like that. So you have these people that they won't take a stand for that, but they'll take a stand for something that doesn't really have a coherent stand that needs to be taken for. Like, blacks are oppressed. How are they oppressed? I don't know. Like, that's literally, like, they'll go on to make, cops go after them unfairly. Well, no, studies show they really don't. They're given more prison sentencing for the same thing. It's actually extremely small. Most of it, when you adjust for things like priors and severity, all that kind of stuff, it largely dries up. So yeah, that's kind of just the point being there, is that, like I say, they're hypocritical in that sense. They're also hypocritical in the sense that, like I say, if you really cared so much about this kind of stuff, you'd give away an insanely high amount of your money and you'd live like the average person. Like, I mean, the guy's got to be, what, in his 50s. Like, he could easily, if he kept 1 or 2 million of that, retire and live a modest retirement. But no, they don't want to do that because it's rules for thee, not for me. And that is one of the big fundamental differences between the left and the right that people don't seem to understand, that they need to get, is that when you're on the left, you fundamentally believe in different sets of rules for different people in society. So that's why they think it's okay. I mean, to be honest, it probably doesn't even cross their mind. And I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you have the AOC, Trump not allowed isn't allowed to block people on Twitter, but AOC is still doing it, even though people have sued her and courts have ordered her to stop doing it. She's still doing it. Trump not doing it. So, like I said, it's just another example that came to my mind. Like, I could go on, but if you're on the left, you believe in different sets of rules for different people. And the thing that really bothers me about the left, too, is that they'll defend, whenever the different sets of rules for different people benefits them, they'll defend it no matter what. But whenever it goes against them, they'll go after it no matter what. And it's just another fundamental contradiction of the left. And the other point being is the idea that you have all these big celebrities that are, filth. I mean, this guy's not even rich compared to a lot of them, but very rich. Like if you have, I would say, more than a $10 million net worth, yeah, you're rich. If you have more than that in disposable income, yeah, then you're extremely rich because it's not in assets or whatever. And like I say, if you actually cared about this kind of stuff, put your money where your mouth is and donate some of your money. Like, and not, 100 grand, a million. Like, that's nothing. Like, if you're not willing to give up, I mean, all these, far left kind of people, I mean, they're not even really far left because they're all far left, which means they're more like a moderate left, but you know what I mean. They want, these massive highly high taxes. They want, 70, 80, 90% marginal tax rates. Bernie Sanders is, I believe, has been quoted saying that, 90% marginal tax rate isn't that crazy. And I mean, you have all these kind of people that support Bernie Sanders. I mean, Elizabeth Warren's, I think, close to the front runner at this point. I don't see Biden lasting long enough. He's way too incoherent and crazy. I mean, not that the other ones aren't, but they're at least coherent. And Elizabeth Warren's pretty much the same as Bernie Sanders. She wants free healthcare. She wants massively high taxes, all this kind of stuff. So if you actually believe in getting rid of 90% of the average person's income, well, go donate 90% of your own. Like, it makes no sense. And the fact that people who don't recognize the rank contradiction with this kind of stuff are either just, for lack of a better way of putting it, just plain stupid and too far gone, or they recognize the contradiction but it benefits them, in which case they're willing to look past it no matter what. And that just goes to show just how immoral and unethical people like that are. Like, it's disgusting how immoral and unethical that is to look past that kind of stuff. But the last point being is that capitalism is not failing us. Capitalism is what has made, for a large part, what has made the West what it is. I mean, is there a lot of capitalism going on in Africa? Is there a lot of capitalism going on in the Middle East? No, and that's why they're largely third, fourth, fifth world countries. Is there a lot of capitalism going on in, Central America? No. I mean, most of those countries were full on socialist or communist fairly recently. So, and the left, the problem with the left, why they have this horribly negative view of capitalism, is the left has this tendency to justify their own beliefs. They have to interpret like people who disagree with them, people on the right, they have to interpret their beliefs in the worst way you can possibly interpret them, which is why they think capitalism is so bad, because they interpret it in the worst way possible, which is this, corporations, having monopolies and workers having absolutely no rights, and all this. Even though in a socialist system the government is de facto the corporations, and the workers still, I mean, they have rights, but the standard of living is so low that it's not even worth the rights. Like, okay, you get 2 weeks off, but you're making $5 an hour, whatever you want to call it. So, and again, that's another rank contradiction of the left. But the other point, like I said, the point being is that capitalism is what has made the West what it is, and there's no arguing that. And like I say, if capitalism is so bad, well, why don't like point out a country to me that's never been capitalistic that you think is better than the States? Like, point one out to me. Like, seriously. I mean, you're not going to be able to do it, so you won't do it. And like I said, it's just with these celebrities, it's largely just they want a virtue signal. I don't think they can help themselves. They want to fit in because everyone else is doing it, even though a lot of them disagree with it. When you watch I don't know if it happens as much on Joe Rogan. I don't really remember it that much, but some of the other big YouTubers, you'll hear them. Some of them even on the left, I've heard, like, not crazy, the typical crazy leftist, like a more moderate leftist, continue to tell these stories. I see videos like this all the time, that they talk to big name celebrities or famous people, and they'll talk about that they're not actually this far to the left, but they're doing it just to fit in. And that's again, it just goes to show just how much of a mob the left is, and just how crazy they are. And like I say, it's pretty crazy. But I don't want to talk too much about this. The main point being is that capitalism has not failed us. Capitalism is the reason the West is so rich. And the one thing I can't stand too is that whenever, this is going a little off topic, but whenever you hear someone complain about how bad things are, I mean, namely in somewhere like Alberta or Canada, because our economy is doing so bad, you'll have all these people who the inevitable, well, we at least we have heat nowadays, and we have grocery stores, and we have running water, and all this, we have phones and stuff to keep us entertained. And they're right to an extent. I mean, they're I think they're largely wrong, because it's pointing out the obvious. But the part that they completely ignore is that, well, all those things are because of capitalism, like iPhone capitalism, running water capitalism, heat capitalism, all this kind of stuff. I mean, since when has the government invented a smartphone? Since when has a government-run company, ran a, invented a furnace, or invented the furnace, or invented LED light bulbs, or invented TVs, any of this kind of stuff? It doesn't happen. So that's the one thing that I can't stand about those kind of people, is that they'll inevitably defend or go after you or defend, the status quo when it comes to that stuff. But whenever that part is brought up, all of a sudden they're quiet. But just a little tangent I wanted to bring up. But anyways, long story short, no, capitalism is not failing us. It's a lack of capitalism. And for the simple reason that, look at all the least capitalistic countries out there and tell me if you'd rather be there than in the United States. And you look at, China, no, not even close. I mean, Africa, no, not even close. The Middle East, no. I mean, the Middle East is conservative in a lot of ways, but more conservative in the religious aspect, not in the freedom aspect. So, and capitalism is more or less the freedom aspect and the free market aspect. So, no, they're not capitalistic. So don't try to make that argument. You got Central America, no, not really. I mean, like I say, the U.S. is the one. And the other thing to point out too is that you have the Hong Kong example is a prime example of this. You have a far left communist Chinese government ruling over these people, and what flags are they waving? They're waving American flags because they want the freedom, they want capitalism. If capitalism was failing us, then why would they be waving the flag of the most capitalistic place to ever exist? Like, I would say by far, at least on a large scale. I mean, there's smaller countries like, I don't know, Luxembourg or something that exist, but they're very, very small. So it's kind of hard to compare to a country of hundreds of millions of people. But anyways, like I say, it makes no sense from a logical perspective. I mean, they're clearly hypocritical in several ways. Like, the amount of the double think and logical fallacies here, like, I'd have to put down a list and, start writing them out. There's so many. So I think this video's gone on long enough, so I'm going to leave it there, but make sure to hit that like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.